From our Washington, D.C. studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. Belgium's foreign minister calls Gaza's crisis genocide, urges Europe to act. This and much more in today's show. A Palestinian American student detained in the U.S. is demanding answers. Lawyers for Columbia University graduate Mahmoud Khalil have filed a Freedom of Information Act or FOIA request. They allege that the Trump administration colluded with anti-Palestinian groups to target him. Khalil, a legal U.S. resident, has been held without charge in a Louisiana detention center since March. ICE agents arrested him without a warrant at his apartment. His legal team claims Zionist groups such as Canary Mission, Bitar USA, and Columbia Alumni for Israel pushed for his deportation and may have influenced government action. Ayla Qada from the Center of Constitutional Rights said these groups have long tried to silence Palestinian activism. She said now it appears that the Trump administration is working with them. The Canary Mission had profiled Khalil in January, and Bitar USA later posted his address online. Khalil's arrest comes amid a growing crackdown on pro-Palestinian voices across U.S. campuses. At MIT's 2025 graduation ceremony, class president Megha Vemori strongly criticized the university's links to the Israeli military. She said, "We are watching Israel try to wipe Palestine off the face of the earth, and it is a shame that MIT is a part of it." She noted that MIT students and faculty voted to sever ties with the Israeli military, which she called genocidal, but said the administration ignored the demands. Vemori praised students who stood in solidarity with Gaza despite pressure from university officials. She reminded graduates that Gaza's universities have been destroyed and urged them to support peace, aid, and an arms embargo. Calling MIT's ties with the Israeli forces shameful, she invited fellow graduates to keep pushing for change as alumni. Graduates responded with chants of Free, Free Palestine and waved a Palestinian flag during the ceremony. Harvard University held its graduation ceremony on Thursday under a cloud of controversy. Protesters gathered in Cambridge to support the institution as it battles the Trump administration's attempt to block it from enrolling international students. The Department of Homeland Security has given Harvard 30 days to respond to claims it failed to meet federal rules. Officials accuse Harvard of allowing anti-Semitic violence on campus and not addressing student misconduct. Harvard denies the charges. President Donald Trump has called some foreign students troublemakers and wants to cap their numbers at 15%. The dispute comes amid growing tensions between universities and the White House. Belgium's Foreign Minister Maxime Prévost has called the situation in Gaza very close to genocide. In an interview with Homo magazine, Prévost said that the deliberate starvation of Gaza's population amounts to a war crime. Prévost said images from Gaza make him very angry and condemned the months-long humanitarian blockade. He urged the Belgian and European governments to go beyond condemnations. Prévost acknowledged challenges with countries like Germany, Italy, and Hungary opposing such measures. He also expressed hope that President Donald Trump and his administration might adopt a firmer stance on Israel. In related news, Belgium is discussing sanctions on Israel over its military campaign in Gaza. The Foreign Minister Prévost described the situation as horrors that can no longer be ignored. Prévost told Belgian news agency condemnations alone have failed and urged punitive measures against the Israeli government and what he called violent settlers. Belgium's ruling coalition is led by the Zionist New Flemish Alliance Party, with Prévost's centrist Les Engagés Party as a junior partner. Prime Minister Bart de Wever previously restrained Privat on foreign policy and opposes genocide claims against Israel. Privat hopes the same sanctions can be agreed on, citing Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's call for total war in Gaza and forced displacement of Palestinians. He also noted other European nations are taking action. Gaza faces an extreme humanitarian crisis with widespread starvation and minimal aid allowed in. Israel also faces charges of war crimes and genocide at international courts. In the past 24 hours, Israel has killed at least 72 Palestinians and injured 278 in attacks, excluding northern Gaza, where hospitals barely function. Israeli forces opened fire on civilians at an aid point run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation in central Gaza, injuring 28. Israeli airstrikes killed 3 Palestinians in Diyar al-Bala, including a pregnant woman, and another strike hit a barbershop in Al-Burej camp, killing 1. In Gaza City, a man, his wife, and child died in an Israeli strike on Al-Malaya roundabout. Another was killed in an attack on a home on Umar al-Mukhtar Street. Israel has ordered evacuations in 5 northern areas and shut Al-Auda hospital, worsening health care access. Hamas said it is reviewing a new ceasefire proposal that the U.S. says has been signed off by Israel. It has called on Arab and Muslim countries to dispatch aid convoys to Gaza, saying the move could pressure Israel to allow relief into the besieged enclave. In January, the British medical journal The Lancet reported that Israel had killed over 64,000 Palestinians, mostly women, children, and the elderly. At least 123,492 Palestinians have been wounded, according to Gaza's health ministry. Saudi Arabia is using AI to transform the Hajj journey, from smart robots to health apps and fast-track travel. This and much more coming up next.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome to This Hijabi Life. Today we've been talking to Alex from Awiya and Alexandra Healing.
I always wondered, what is life? Why do people die? What's going on? Why are there people who suffer so much? So I started going into Islam and learning about Islam, and alhamdulillah, I became Muslim.
People come to Islam because of the clarity that it
yes.
gives us.
This person not wearing a turban or just not wearing hijab might be more religious than you are.
Awiya is now a platform where you empower Muslim women-owned businesses with this amazing list.
Went from fashion to business somehow. And I realized I really wanted to go into holistic route, and so I started acupuncture. I was very lucky to go to China and study there.
As a Muslimah, we all know in the power of dua and reading Quran and things like that.
Yeah, we are Awiya. We are strong women.
Every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on Muslim Network TV.
Israeli police have detained the widow of renowned Palestinian writer Walid Daqqa in Jerusalem. Sana Daqqa was picked up near Damascus Gate in Old City and taken for interrogation. No official reason was given, but the arrest follows repeated calls for Israel's far-right National Security Minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir, for her deportation. Reports say Ben-Gvir contacted the Interior Ministry 4 times in one day, demanding action. This comes as Israeli authorities begin stripping citizenship from 4 Arab inmates accused of receiving funds from the Palestinian Authority. Walid Daqqa died in April 2024 at the age of 62 after spending 38 years in Israeli prisons. He had been suffering from cancer. Palestinian rights groups say his death was caused by deliberate medical neglect. Dhaka was a prominent intellectual and author jailed since 1986. He hailed from Baqqa al-Gabriya, a Palestinian town near the West Bank. A U.S. federal appeals court temporarily reinstated former President Donald Trump's controversial global tariffs, blocking a lower court's decision that had overturned them. Earlier, the Court of International Trade had declared Trump lacked the authority to impose sweeping tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit has now paused the ruling. The paused tariffs include 30% on Chinese goods, 25% on selected imports from Canada and Mexico, and 10% on most global imports. The original challenge came from wine importer VOS Selections and 4 other small businesses. They argued that the International Emergency Economic Powers Act does not allow presidential tariff powers, and if it does, it is an unconstitutional power grab from Congress. Both sides have now until early June to file arguments. The escalating legal battle could end up in the U.S. Supreme Court shaping future presidential power over trade. A new COVID-19 variant, NB181, has been detected in several parts of the U.S. following a major surge in China. U.S. cases were first identified in March and April through airport screening of international travelers, the Center of Disease Control and Prevention confirmed. Experts say that the variant is more transmissible but not more severe than earlier strains. Symptoms remain largely the same: fever, sore throat, cough, and fatigue. Researchers believe NB181 binds more tightly to human cells, making it easier to spread. However, there's no evidence it causes more serious illness. Despite its rapid spread, the Trump administration is limiting access to updated booster shots. In new FDA rules, only seniors and high-risk individuals such as pregnant women and diabetics will be eligible. Vaccine manufacturers must now conduct large-scale trials before shots are approved for the general public. Health experts warn the decision could delay protection for millions. The new policy comes under Health and Human Services Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr., a known vaccine skeptic. A new documentary, White with Fear, reveals how political parties in the U.S. have long exploited racial fears of white people to win elections. The film opens with scenes from 1968 when suburban housewives in Dearborn, Michigan took gun lessons as former President Richard Nixon campaigned on law and order, blaming Black Americans for growing crime. From Nixon's Southern strategy to President Donald Trump's migrant-bashing rallies, the film shows how Republicans turned white resentment into a political tool. It draws a line from Nixon's coded language to Trump's allies like Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller, who openly discuss using race to rally white voters. Footage links the past to the present, including viral images of white Americans pointing guns at Black Lives Matter protesters. Experts and former GOP strategists admit the tactics work, even if they're morally hollow. The film warns that today's culture wars and fear-mongering remain part of the calculated political strategy to hold power. Rohingya groups are calling on Western nations to impose sanctions on Burma's Arakan army for killing and widespread persecution. In a joint statement, 26 Rohingya organizations from the US, UK, Australia, and other countries demanded global pressure on the Arakan army as that applied to Burma's military. They also urged the UN Human Rights Commissioner to launch an investigation into the recent deadly boat disasters involving Rohingya refugees fleeing violence. Two boats sank in May, leaving at least 427 dead or missing, many of them who were women and children. More than 200,000 people were displaced as homes were torched by Arakan army forces, with more than 118,000 Rohingya fleeing to Bangladesh and neighboring countries. The UN Refugee Agency says that the Bay of Bengal now has one of the world's deadliest migration routes, with nearly 1 in 5 refugees dying or disappearing this year while escaping persecution. A former Muslim prayer site in northeastern France has been vandalized in a suspected hate crime. The building, located in La Hôpital in the Moselle region, was found desecrated with ripped prayer rugs, overturned furniture, and copies of the Quran defiled. Swastikas were spray painted on the wall, and gas canisters and tires soaked in petrol were discovered, suggesting attempted arson. The site, previously used by the group Les Amis du Peuple Méditerranéen, has been inactive since 2021 but remains under their ownership. Local leaders condemned the act as racist. Mayor Emmanuel Schuler called it unacceptable and intolerable. Police have launched an investigation. The attack has drawn widespread outrage online and follows the fatal stabbing at a mosque in La Grande Combe region last month. Saudi Arabia is harnessing artificial intelligence to ease the Hajj journey for nearly 2 million pilgrims this year. Smart services like Manara 2, an AI robot that speaks more than 20 languages, will guide pilgrims in real time. Nasuk Card help pilgrims book visits to the sacred site and store vital contact and accommodations details. The Makkah Bus Guidance Center uses AI to ensure smooth transport, while the Tawakkalna app offers health updates and access to medical help. The new Smart Enrichment Assistant provides multilingual information on prayers and religious classes. The Makkah Route Initiative fast-tracks travel procedures from pilgrims' home countries. Saudi Arabian authorities also launched a luggage coding system and Quran learning apps to improve the spiritual and logistical experience. More than 1.2 million pilgrims have already arrived ahead of the pilgrimage next week. Hajj is a sacred obligation for Muslims who are physically and financially able to perform at least once in their lifetime. Muslim Network TV would like to wish all Hujjaj a safe journey. That's all from our Washington, D.C. studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We're a channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. Please donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum.